welcome back to part 2, where we're going to tell you exactly how to go about this. So step 1 is mow the grass. You want to get this as low as physically possible. So this is a really bad demonstration, however, bear with me. Where are we going? Cool. So this is the grass above ground and these are the roots below ground. When we cut the grass, or when it's eaten naturally by a herbivore, it comes down and the roots do a similar thing. And then they both grow back. And it's this pulsing of growth. So what we're doing when we cut the grass down is weakening the root structure. So what's really important to remember when doing this method is you need to cut the grass at least twice. If you've got the time, go 3 times. And not like we've done, which is on one day cut it and then on the second day cut it. It's not going to work. What you want to do is at least a week apart. So if you could say, give me 3 weeks from now, you go outside today, mark out where your beds are going to be, cut the grass as low as possible, and then wait a week. Cut it again, and if you've got the time, wait another week, cut it again. And that's just going to keep weakening the grass. And it's really important that we get the grass into a weakened state for this to work. So there's a really simple law of nature that we're going to exploit to get our beds created, weed free. So, and that simple law is plants need sunlight. If we take away the sunlight, the plants are going to die. And in this case, we've got grass and a little bit of clover, maybe some buttercups in there as well. So by smothering this with a mulch, a sheet mulch, we're going to take away that sunlight to an already weakened plant, and then we've created a damp environment underneath that paper in which fungi and bacteria are going to absolutely thrive. And when they thrive, they're going to need a food source, and they're going to attack this weakened grass as their food source. So they're going to work for us. Rather than us battling everything, we're going to pit members of the community kind of against each other, but so that we can create a really healthy, prosperous and vibrant soil food web that's then going to give us really healthy plants. So I'm going to run and grab the paper now, and then I'll show you how to lay it down. But it really is this simple. There's a reason that we've chosen to go with paper. It's continuity is really important. So you can do this method with cardboard. That's how a lot of people do it. It's really slow. We have tried it. This is super quick. You just roll it out, bang, done. Also with cardboard, you get these overlapping points, and when you have, we overlap a lot. I mean, we're coming like halfway across when we're doing these side by side. It's really important because if the plants have an ability to grow around like this, they will. And that's what we found when we used cardboard, was there's just loads of joins. With this, there isn't. It's like one continuous piece. So it's really important that it stays as one continuous piece. So I'm going to roll this out, and then we're probably going to roll it to 3 layers. We've done 2 on some beds and 3 on other beds, but for the price of it and just for that added initial puncture proofness, it's just worth popping another one down. Make sure you do this on a wind-free site, or you have 2 people. We've spent countless moments chasing off massive 30-metre strips of paper that have blown off, and we've just got them out. So it's not too windy today, and we're only doing a short bed, so it shouldn't be a problem. However, we have finally got a really good use for the fork on the farm, now that we don't use it for digging. I imagine some of you are probably like, Jack, what are you doing? I'm just going to leave the video now. This is ridiculous. Never going to work. promise you it does. And it's just by changing those few beliefs and approaches we have about soil that are going to transform the way that you garden and give you way more time for doing more of the fun stuff and less of the weeding, less of the digging, which very few people enjoy. Unless I'm totally mistaken, and that's your favourite part. You know, it's really important that this doesn't get punctured, so don't stand on it and get it covered immediately. You can't leave this out overnight. Once you start the job, you've got to finish it. So the next step now is to put the compost on. You're going to use quite a bit of compost. We've had 3 lorry loads over the whole farm, but unless you're starting a market garden, you should be able to get by with a delivery or what you can get in the back of your car. So I'm going to start getting the compost on. Absolute minimum is about 8 centimetres. If you can go up to 12, 15 centimetres, brilliant. Kind of the more compost we can get on there, the better, and the higher quality compost you can get, the better. So I'd say, unless you're doing a really small area, try not to buy it in bags, you know, like the small plastic bags. See if you can get it in a dumpy bag, or whether you can actually get someone to drop off a load. There's quite a lot of companies out there that deliver compost. Have a look around on Google and just ask them a little bit about it, where it comes from. We've used Green Waste here, so a company that collects everyone's green waste, hot composts it down, and then they sell that bulk, and that's been brilliant. It's worked really, really well with our fertilizer regime, which is super simple. Not going to go into that in this video, but we use organic seaweed as a foliar spray and it works absolutely wonders. So I'm going to start loading this up now, and yeah, we'll get this bed finished. Beautiful. It's that easy. I know a lot of you don't believe me. I'd be a bit dubious myself if I hadn't seen it work. This is a proven technique. So we're gonna plant into this some of these beautiful little bull's blood rainbow chard. These were grown at the end of last year, and we can pop these in and they're just gonna kind of sit there waiting for the season to really kick off. Now when it comes to planting in this, the thicker the soil, the thicker the compost layer that you put on, the less chance you're going to have of hitting the paper. You want to avoid that. But it really is as simple as just popping a couple in. We plant really, really densely on the farm here, and there's a number of reasons for doing that. One, we get more from a smaller space, and that means that instead of having, on a commercial farm maybe, 2 or 3 rows of rainbow chard in, we can get 6, maybe 7, really, really tightly packed. Another huge benefit to this is that very quickly there's going to be a canopy here, and these 2 plants are going to grow and they're going to meet in the middle. And just like in a forest, you get dappled shade hitting the ground. It means that the soil temperature is going to be cooler, and that's something we really, really need to pay attention to, especially through the summer months. So as the soil temperature rises, the amount of water available to the plants decreases exponentially. So the cooler we can keep the soil, the better. Now that is one of the drawbacks of this method, is that often compost is very dark. So that means it's going to absorb more heat from the sun and warm up quicker. Another drawback is the fact that this is slightly raised, so it's going to catch the wind a little bit. But we can then counter that by planting very densely the point to remember on this is that initially we're going to have to keep a really good eye on the soil moisture content. So we don't want these little plants that have been grown in a polytunnel or your greenhouse that have been really like kind of mollycoddled. We've made sure they've got just the right amount of water. We're then bringing them out into the big bad world, and some plants are going to need hardening off, these won't. And when they go in here, we're going to need to make sure that they don't dry out because the soil's darker and it's slightly raised. So it just means being a little extra vigilant with your watering. Don't be afraid to water in the middle of the day. It's not effective and efficient, but if your plants look like they're wilting, give them a quick spray over. It's going to reduce their temperature. It's going to cool the soil, and it's going to get them out of that stress mode. And it's really important that we don't grow stressed plants, because when a plant is stressed, it's going to put out a lot of pheromones that insects and pests are going to really come home hard, and they're like, it's a homing beacon. Something for a whole another series and a whole another episode. Really today we're just focusing on how to get these beds built, and then the planting is up to you. Have fun, mix them up, get as much stuff in there as you physically can. Don't be afraid to overfill your beds. It's really easy to take something out when something gets a little bit choked out. We often plant lettuce in amongst because they're really quick to get going, and then you can cut them out and give a bit more space for everything else. I hope you found this useful. This method has transformed the way that we garden. It's made it so much more enjoyable. It's given us so much more time to focus on the really fun things like the sowing, the planting, the harvesting. And it's meant that we've expanded at a really quick rate. So I really hope you give this a go. Trust me. Get the 2 cuts in. Make sure you put 3 layers of craft paper. Don't go for cardboard, go for craft paper. I promise you it will be easier. Get your compost on nice and thick. Make sure it's watered. So I really hope you give this a go. Honestly, you're going to love the results. It's going to transform the way that you grow food from now on. If you're going to do a single bed, just follow these instructions. It's really as easy as that. You can, after you've done that second cut, you can get planting the same day. If you're going to be doing multiple beds, the only added kind of caveat I'd say is make sure you really overlap that paper where the path's going to be. Like we've got 3 beds behind us. There's a path, small path in between. We've overlapped that paper so it's covered all the way across. And then we put a thin layer of compost, about 4 centimetres down on the pathway. And then on top of that, we've gone for straw. Now this straw is from our oyster mushroom growing that we do on farm, and that works really well. It breaks down, it adds organic matter to the soil, feeding the soil on those pathways, and then kind of on a yearly basis we just add more in. So there's a couple of little points to think about. If you're going to have multiple beds, I mean, go for it. You save so much time on weeding. Realistically, on a farm like this where we don't use any nasty chemicals, everything has to be hand weeded. On half an acre, most farms are going to be looking at about at least 6 hours a week of weeding. That would just be total killer for us. You know, we've got so much to do here. The oyster mushroom growing, with other work as well, with the teaching. So we need our time. Our time is really valuable and precious to us. So this way of farming has enabled us to do so much more. And we probably spend half an hour tops a week weeding. It's just been transformational. I used to spend more time weeding tiny little vegetable beds and garden flower beds for clients when I was 16 working as a gardener. This is just such an easy way of growing food. So I really hope you give it a go. Tag us in the photos, you know, maybe do a little video, show us how it's going. Really want to see and help more people grow delicious homegrown food this year. We're actually going to run our course this year, so that's going to be launching in a couple of months. It's really designed for the beginner grower or someone who's kind of just fed up with that traditional slog of battling nature. So it's going to be full of little tips and tricks We're going to guide you on what to plant, how to plant it, so that you've got food all year round. Well, all year through the growing season. You know, we're still harvesting off here. These lettuces behind me are a bit sad. We did get a cut off them last week. Still getting lots of parsley. We're getting rucks of kale, carrots, beetroot. So there's still plenty to eat, even in January. So if it sounds like it might be of interest to you, if you want to learn how to grow really easily, effectively, to get homegrown, fresh produce on your table through the year, and to really take that stress away, keep your ears out. We're going to be posting a few things on Facebook, on Instagram. We might send you an email as well, just to let you know when this course is launching. And yeah, hopefully you'll want to get a spot.
And he didn't do anything then.
I was just saying.
You're like, are you recording? I was like, yes.
Ready?
At least I remembered. What's this?